Good morning, Titans. Today we are going to talk about the history of Black women in politics. Since the beginning of the United States, Black women have been organizing, advocating, and changing the country in powerful and important ways. Today we are going to learn about some of these women who have made a big impact in American politics. Not long after the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, which outlawed many of the barriers that local and state governments used to prevent Black Americans from voting, Shirley Chisholm, an educator from Brooklyn, was the first Black woman to be elected to the United States Congress in 1968. As a representative, she fought for racial and gender equality, economic equity, and an end to the Vietnam War. She was the first Black woman and only the second woman ever to serve on the House Rules Committee. In 1972, she again made history when she announced she was running for president, despite not having the support of any official groups. Despite discrimination during her campaign, she was prevented from participating in the televised debates. She still got 10% of the primary vote. Her motto was unbossed and unbought. Barbara Jordan, a lawyer from Houston, Texas, ran for and was elected to the Texas Senate in 1966 after several unsuccessful campaigns for the Texas House of Representatives. As a Texas senator, she fought for minimum wage and anti-discrimination practices. In 1972, she became the first African American in the 20th century to be elected to the United States Congress from the South. She played many important roles as a U.S. representative and even gave the opening remarks at President Richard Nixon's impeachment trial. She left Congress in the late 1970s to become a professor at the University of Texas in Austin.
Throughout the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, Black women have continued to run for and hold public office, and now, for the first time, we have a Black woman in the White House. Last month, on January 20th, Kamala Harris was sworn in as the first woman, first Black woman, first Indian American, first person of Asian American descent, and first graduate of an HBCU, Vice President of the United States. From Oakland, California, she was the first woman and Black American to serve as Attorney General in California in 2010 and became a U.S. Senator for California in 2016. The election of Vice President Harris is an important and exciting first in American politics. Marilyn Strickland is a South Korean-born American politician and businesswoman who was the U.S. representative for Washington's 10th Congressional District. Strickland is also one of the first 3 Korean-American women ever elected to Congress, beginning her term on the same day as Young Kim and Michelle Steele. As a member of the Democratic Party, she began her first term on January 3, 2021. She previously served as the 38th mayor of Tacoma from 2010 to 2018. As we recognize the Black women who have held official office, it is also important to recognize those who have organized and influenced American politics without an elected position. All the way back in the early 1800s, Black women like Maria Stewart were fighting for equality and freedom. Maria Stewart was the first woman and Black American woman we have on record who spoke in public to an audience of both men and women, which was very rare and considered immoral by some at the time. She advocated against slavery, racism, and championed the rights and education of women. During the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s, Fannie Lou Hamer, an organizer for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, faced jail, losing her job, possessions, and home just because of her efforts to fight for voting equality. So she co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party to push back against the Democratic Party who tried to block the participation of Black Americans in the political process, and she eventually succeeded. She continued to publicly organize for civil rights and the success of Black Americans until her death in 1977.
Today, Stacey Abrams, the student of Representative Barbara Jordan, continues to fight for voting rights. After running for governor of Georgia in 2018 and witnessing overwhelming voter suppression, actions and policies that actively prevent eligible voters from voting, Abrams founded the New Georgia Project and Fair Fight to overturn voter suppression. In the last 2 years, she registered and informed voters, making sure they could work around the barriers put in place to make it harder to vote. Since 2018, around 800,000 new voters have been registered in Georgia.